Hey everyone, welcome to the inaugural episode of So, Who Are You Really? Real Life Spirituality. My name is Chris Lanning, and I am honored to be able to introduce you to the host of this amazing series. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. The hosts are Jody Lemieux and Bryan Winston. And these are just two people that I really enjoyed getting to know and have a large impact in the communities, the networking communities that I'm involved with. So again, really honored to be here. Jody, why don't we start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. My name's Jody Lemieux. I'm the Spiritually Aligned CEO at Conversations with Jody. I enjoy raising vibration and frequency in conversations with executives and anyone who is looking to up-level their life in spirituality.
Awesome. That's great. And Bryan, how about you?
First of all, I want to say how much I love how conscious Jody is of her language. It's infectious.
It is very infectious.
And I'm like, am I saying the right thing, or is okay? Like, who am I? Who am I in this conversation? So I am Bryan Winston. I'm an executive coach and a human being who enjoys conversations, specifically with Jody Lemieux, about spirituality and who we really are and what we really are. I help my clients to see more clearly so that they make better decisions. They run organizations and they run teams, so it's helpful to be very clear with the truth and with what they're thinking and how they are being.
Now, for those of you that are tuning in, the idea for this series came about because these two regularly just have long conversations about the topic of spirituality. And so they wanted to find a way to take those conversations and kind of release them out to the community, get other people involved in the conversations and get talking about a topic that they both really are passionate about. So, Jenny, let me start with you. What would you like people to get out of participating in this series and listening and understanding?
I would love for people to dive deeper into their own spirituality. Something that Bryan and I have recognized is when we are in conversations, our level of consciousness raises. I would love for people to apply what we're talking about in their own personal life to raise their consciousness and up-level their spirituality and dive deeper into themselves.
How about for you, Bryan?
Yeah, I don't care about other people. Just kidding. That's a terrible thing to say, but it is really. But it really has to do with I do this for my own spiritual practice. Like I do it for yes, I would love. I'd share Jody's desire and love for other people to grow and to improve. Like that's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing gift. But yeah, I do this. I really do this for me. I do this because it feels good for me to do. And I do it because I think it's helpful for me. And I know that when I'm really, really aligned with what I love most, like it really does help other people. And so to hear Jody and I go back and forth is really super helpful for me. Like for me to hear Jody think very intentionally, be very intentional with her speech and with her words, it helps me to be more intentional with my speech and words. So I do this for me.
And that's actually a very healthy attitude. I think a lot of people feel like when they have to put out content, they have to think about how it's going to help others, what's going to help others. When in reality, some of the best content comes from discovering things for yourself or talking with other people and learning. I know I've put out a series before where I've mentioned I do these to record thoughts and ideas that I have so I can go back and watch them later. But oh, by the way, I'm going to share them with you too, just in case they have an impact on you. Because the reality is, whatever questions or insights you come up with, chances are it's going to help other people as well. So, and he doesn't really like people. No, just kidding.
I can't stand people. Isn't that a weird thing to say in here when people say, "Oh, I hate people"? Like, what are you really saying? Like, I think when people say that, they don't like the way that they feel around other people, or they don't like their thoughts about other people when they say stuff like that. What does that have to say? I hate people or I don't like people. No, it's a wild thing.
And some of it is just that, we want to be within ourselves sometimes and having all those people there, that's noise and it overwhelms us. So we don't really hate the people. We hate the fact that we're being exposed to all that, noise or stress levels or emotions. Like, no, give me peace. I want peace.
Right. We all just Right. I love that you said that. I think all of us, meaning every person, every being really does want peace and happiness. That's what we all really, really want. And so when people say something about something they hate, they see it as something that blocks them from peace or happiness. That's what it really comes down to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, Jody. Like the one of the beliefs that or understandings that I've come to is that we are one. We are one. We are a one thing. Like we are a one, we can call it God or universe or consciousness or whatever we want to call it. But when I really do, when I'm doing something for me, like if I am one thing, then I'm doing it for all of us, and it can't not be that way,
I'm in agreement with you. And when people say, I hate something, it's actually something about themselves. So you bring up a really powerful statement here. When you are, I'll speak for myself. When I am speaking about other individuals, I'm really talking about myself. It's a mirror reflection. When we hate something in someone else, it's really something within us that's of distaste to ourselves.
I hate it when she's right.
I love that we're using the word hate so much today. In our inaugural episode, what's it about? It was about hate.
Then let's turn a little bit then. So the main focus of this series is going to be on spirituality. So what does spirituality mean to each of you individually? Jody?
So before I answer your question, we're talking about the difference between hate and love. So when we can turn our love towards the hate we are experiencing, we'll transmute the hate into love. So it's loving our hate in order to receive love. Wow.
You see what I mean?
Embrace the hate.
Because it doesn't. I don't know if it could work. It can't really work the other way, can it?
No.
Like, I don't. Like you can't hate the love, right? I don't know that it works the other way, but I never even thought about this before. Like you can't hate the love, but you can like embrace the feeling of hate or anger, or you can embrace that. But I don't know what it would look like I guess you can push away from the thing that appears to be the thing but you wouldn't do that. Like, no, you wouldn't naturally push away something that feels good to you, that it is genuinely that it seems like it's good to you. Like, but you can definitely embrace the thing that you appear to hate. That's something that can be done. I don't know that it works. Maybe it does. Maybe I just don't see it. But you can't. It's tough to see it the other way around. That's very interesting, Jody.
So I'll answer Chris's question. What does spirituality mean to me? Spirituality is we are a spirit having a human experience. So to remember we are spirit, we are love. And when we remember we're love, it dissipates all other hate, all other lower vibration emotions.
Nice.
So we use the power of love. We use the power of our soul, our godness, our oneness, to radiate love throughout this physical reality.
You get to follow that, Bryan.
Spirit is life. It's really the study of, or the understanding, or paying attention to when we're talking about spirituality. It's life. Like if you think about someone, they're very we had a spirited conversation. It's a very vibrant conversation, and vibrant is vibration, right? Which is life. So we're really talking about the essence of life when we're talking about spirituality. And as a study of spirituality, a lot of times people want to, or people have a tendency to start to talk about religion, right? And maybe that's one way. But spirituality is really talking about life and taking a look in at life and the nature of life.
Now, as I shared with both of you early on in this process, having a faith background, a lot of times hearing the word spirituality causes me to, kind of tense up a bit, wonder if I'm heading off in a direction opposite of what, my faith belief is. But I think when I asked you guys before to kind of, how I can reconcile that, what would you say to someone who says, "Wait, I'm a believer. I'm, a strong Christian. Spirituality is just not something I should be messing with." How would you answer a question like that?
I would ask the person to define spirituality. How do you define spirituality? Chris, I'm asking you.
I know. And you would think I would have been prepared for that, but I think I'm still new at this idea of spirituality. And so it's hard for me to define it. But, of course, we can easily be afraid of the unknown. I hear it a lot. I hear people talking about being spiritual. You think in terms of peace, you think in terms of, getting your mindset correct. I mean, these are all buzzwords we hear in networking: mindset, spirituality, And so I don't think I honestly truly know how to define it other than what I've heard you guys define it, Rob. And so it does make it hard for me to understand. Is that going to be a problem?
And that's a really good question. It's a really good point that we don't know what it is. Right. So the unknown is something that's scary to most of us, right? The dark room. And it's like the dark room for us. My daughter is now in a phase where she's afraid. She started to be afraid of the dark. And we're trying to, but one thing I try to help her see is that the same things that are in the dark are the same things there when the light's on, right? But we feel better when the light's wrong, so at least we can see. So that's why this kind of conversation, I think, is an important conversation, because we're looking into that thing that we're looking into that dark room to some degree. And that was a great question, Jody. And what I would follow that question up with is, what if someone has a religious background or has had a religious experience, and they're slow to or apprehensive to look into spirituality? I would love to know what the difference, once we know, okay, this is what spirituality needs to be like, what's the difference between what that experience and the experience of religion that you're having, right? Because I see them, I've always thought of them as the same thing to some degree. I could think there's some debate around that. We can debate around about that, but it seems to me that religion is an attempt at spirituality, at defining life and looking at life and what life is.
I like that. I would definitely encourage anyone that's listening to this episode and having that same question, like, well, I've got that faith background. Go continue through the series, learn about it. Whether ultimately you incorporate those practices in or not, that'll be obviously up to you to decide. But at least you'll know about it. It won't be something you'll be afraid of. It's something you'll understand. And there's probably a lot of good takeaways, even if you don't go full-fledged into the spirituality practices that we will ultimately outline here. So one of the things that we wanted to do with this series, and I hope you guys don't yell at me for this, was to keep the episodes short, but we're going to release them one after another. So you have the ability to go through different topics and understand. On this episode, we've already covered, the introduction to Jody and Bryan, which again, these are amazing people. If you haven't connected with them, definitely do that. We've talked about what spirituality means to them, kind of the goals for this series. And then the first question of, the fear of spirituality. Is it right for me or not? In future episodes, we don't even know where they're going to go, but I know some of the topics we want to talk about are just dive more into what Jody said about being a human experience and just really getting our arms around that. Getting into figuring out how to practice spirituality on a daily basis, like what you can do to practice that spirituality. And then I know Bryan's all big about this one, how it impacts our physical selves, right? Having those thoughts and, spirituality has a huge impact on our physical well-being. And we want to talk about that. And then, of course, love rather than fear. Jody already went into that as well, but we'll explore that in deeper detail. And that's just the beginning. There are so many more things that this conversation could go to. And we invite you to join us on future episodes of So Who Are You Really? Real Life Spirituality. Bryan, Jody, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.